No? Nah, there we go. That sounds better. My name's Stephen Wood. I'm responsible for MasterCard's mobile payments products and activities across Europe. First, I'd like to start with an apology. This presentation will be in English. If I did it in Spanish, I don't think you would enjoy it very much. Hopefully the microphone works in English too, so we should be okay. And although I couldn't really follow all of the previous presentations, there's a few themes that I think came through clearly that I'll try to pick up on. So thanks again. Today, I'm going to try and talk to you for hopefully not too long about some trends that we see in the marketplace across Europe, why we feel that mobile payments in Europe are ready for takeoff and acceleration. There's been some good work done so far, but we think now is the moment where they can really speed up. And then to give 2 or 3 tangible examples of things that MasterCard are doing to accelerate mobile payments and to improve digital payments within Europe. So my belief is that the next few years, let's say between now and 2020, will be transformational for the European payment landscape. And there's a vast number of ways in which that will be true, but some of the ones I'm going to talk about today, I think contactless payments will be everywhere by 2020. You'll be able to use contactless payments absolutely everywhere that you can make electronic payments, and you'll be able to make electronic payments almost everywhere. I also believe that increasingly, if not quite everywhere, but increasingly, mobile payments will become a very significant means by which consumers make payments, shop, and interact with retail outlets. So, I think there's good grounds to believe that that's going to accelerate and that's going to be available across all platforms. And finally, I think the way that we make e-commerce payments is going to change. I think e-commerce is going to become a lot smarter. I think to get a bit techie, chip-style technology and to use things such as biometrics, there's massive improvements for improving how e-commerce works across Europe, which will make it safer, more secure, and a lot simpler, which works better for consumers and works better for retailers. So those are some of the themes that I'm hoping to unpack for you today. So I'll start off, as is traditional in mobile presentations, with a demonstration that people are buying mobile phones. Now, it seems almost ridiculous to have to put a slide up saying people are buying mobile phones because it's such a self-evident trend. One of my very senior colleagues said he would shoot himself in the head if he ever said that at a conference again. But that said, I quite liked this article in The Economist that I read earlier this year, which described mobile technology, specifically smartphones, as the defining technology of the early 21st century. And you can see from the growth charts, it's moving faster than all of the fastest moving technologies we've seen before, such as laptops, such as traditional mobile phones. And by the end of the century, they estimate that 80% of the adults on the planet will have a smartphone, which is effectively a supercomputer, judged in historical standards, in their pocket. That is massively transformational. The Financial Times recently described the smartphone as being a digital brain, a connectivity hub, an identity guardian, and an app platform, all in a few centimeters inside your pocket. This has massive transformational potential. And I think in some ways it's maybe not strange, but payments is almost a little bit late to this party. So there are some very good mobile payment solutions out there at the moment, so I'm not wishing to disparage them in any way. But mobiles have replaced so much. They've replaced your music player, you've replaced your small television if you're lucky enough to have one, they've replaced your fitness monitor, they've replaced your maps, they've replaced your notes. It's all in there now, so payments should be in there too. It's replaced your banking branch in some situations. So, it's ripe for mobile payments to take off. And I'll give you a few more reasons why I think that's the case. So, consumers have noticed what I've just spotted, that the mobile phone can do so much already, why can't I do payments with it? So, a survey of consumers, and I think this stat might even be a couple of years old, they expect electronic payments will overtake cash, and they expect mobile will replace plastic. They can see the trends, they know what's going to happen. We can also see, and apologies that hasn't scroll properly, but mobile devices are used more and more in the shopping experience. And I think the last presentation from Carrefour talked about this a lot. So, between 2014 and 2015, according to some studies, the use of a mobile phone in a purchase decision doubled. And increasingly, the actual transactions are completing on the mobile themselves. So we're seeing a transition from a phrase I love, traditional e-commerce, to new e-commerce where people are purchasing through their mobile devices. And around 2014, 2015, 40% of orders were completed through a tablet or through a smartphone for e-com transactions, rather than a traditional tethered laptop. So the phones are out there and they can already do everything else. The consumers are ready. So what else is missing? Well, actually, this is another slide about consumers being ready, but we did a survey. This is actually quite interesting. We did a survey with a consumer group, about 150 consumers in the UK, all MasterCard owners, all smartphone owners, and we asked them what their favourite apps were and what they use most often. Now, unsurprisingly, top were the social networking applications, which are kind of like tap water on a mobile phone. You use it all the time. What surprised me was that second was online shopping. So this consumer group, even today, even at this stage of evolution of mobile payments, mobile shopping is their second most popular, second most used group of applications. So if mobile payments is going to take off, you need somewhere to use it. There are two ways you can use your mobile. Broadly, you can use it online, you can use it in-store, although those things are merging. If we look at in-store, we're ready. We're absolutely ready for mobile payments. So this is probably the most significant thing that's happened. So I've been doing mobile payments for MasterCard for about, 3 or 4 years. And when I started in this role, people didn't believe that contactless would happen. They couldn't see why it was useful. They didn't know anyone had a card that would work with it. They didn't know any shops that had the terminals. So there was a lot of skepticism around it. Now, people smarter than me built contactless to work not just with mobiles, but to work with plastic. So the benefits of installing contactless in stores can be felt today and now, even before mobile payments come in. And there's been massive, massive progress on this. There's 3 million merchant locations globally where you can pay contactlessly. That's the single biggest reason to believe that NFC as a mobile payment method has potential to take off quickly. 3 million places you can use it. We're seeing in Europe 170% growth in tap transactions year on year, tripling 3 times the value of payments going through contactless over the last year. We're seeing exciting use cases. Transport for London, they announced, I think in June, that their contactless transactions that they support, 1.2 million transactions a day. So in Transport for London, the tube network, the train networks in London, you can use just a normal contactless card, you don't need anything special, 1.2 million transactions a day. The acceptance is here. By 2020, it will be everywhere. The industry is doing this anyway, and MasterCard's giving it a little bit of a shove to make sure that that is a standard that will be implemented everywhere. By 2017, every contactless terminal in store will support high-value transactions. So if you have the right kind of device, it won't just be low-value payments, you'll be able to pay for high-value payments. This is live today in many cases. I've used it twice in Spain on my recent trip, but it'll be everywhere that contactless is in 2017. And this is the footprint that mobile payments are going to ride on. The final reason to believe mobile payments are about to take off is that the services are here. So, I don't know, there's a thing called Apple Pay. You may have heard of it. It's being promoted by an out-of-town company from Cupertino. Apple's entry into the market of payments has been transformational. It has accelerated things, it's elevated the conversation. Within Europe, we have had some very significant mobile projects, and some of which have been very successful within the terms of success. So we've had 50 NFC projects spread out all over the continent. But what Apple have done coming in has been a game changer. They're doing it with a scale of aspiration that is different from something we've seen before. And it's acted as a catalyst to force other players to accelerate their plans. So we're seeing banks building their mobile payment solutions with greater urgency, especially in Spain, which has been one of the pioneers for bank-based NFC services. And we're seeing other entrants, such as Samsung, such as Android, accelerating their plans and working with us to get to market. So let's just talk a little bit about some of the details of Apple Pay. A couple of the facts first. So Apple Pay launched in the US October last year. It launched in the UK July this year. With respect to MasterCard customers, we've got roughly 100 live in the US. In the UK, we've got 7 banking groups that are live. Apple Pay supports 2 main use cases. It allows you to make tapped payments in store using your normal terminal with a biometric or a PIN to validate yourself. And it allows you to make in-app purchases, so remote purchases in a slick way. There are 3 things that I think are significant about this. There's probably more, but I'm going to mention 3. One is that scale thing. You know, MasterCard in Europe probably our most significant deployment to date was in Poland, where we put in the infrastructure to connect 2 mobile phone operators with 9 banks. And you know, that's had its own degree of success. It took us a lot of time to get there. Apple, from the start, went out with the 5 biggest banks in the US, with us and the 2 other payment schemes, covering potentially 80% of consumers. Massive approach to scale. And they've also done it, as you would expect with Apple, in a slick way. The user experience is very nice. If anyone wants to see me afterwards, I can show you my UK phone. So that's one thing. They've done it very nicely. Secondly, as a incredibly significant digital player, they could have done this any way they wanted, but they chose to work with the existing financial ecosystem. So they wanted to work with existing banks that have a brand presence within the wallet that will increase probably in time. They are working with existing acceptance in store. This uses a normal terminal when you tap your phone. There's nothing special that needs to happen to the terminal to support Apple Pay. And the transaction underneath is a normal MasterCard transaction. So they're very much working with the industry rather than against it. Thirdly, from a MasterCard point of view, everything underneath is MasterCard technology. So it's MasterCard technology that transmits the transactions, and it's MasterCard technology that puts the cards into the Apple infrastructure. So every MasterCard that is on an iPhone today has been put there by MasterCard infrastructure. And that infrastructure is scalable and generic, and we'll be applying it to a number of other situations, which I'll explain in a minute. So it's not just built for Apple, it's built to support multiple digital players as we move into the future. So with all of these things happening, you know, consumers and retailers are leading the way in terms of developing new ways to shop and building their own experiences. And this is leading to a blurring of some of these traditional boundaries. You know, the world of e-com, the world of in-store are increasingly blurred, and I believe that was a theme of part of the Carrefour presentation. So you're seeing plenty of examples of people researching things on their phone as part of a shopping decision, showrooming, where you go to a store but then you buy online, reverse showrooming, where you look online and then you go to the store to collect what you've researched, click and collect, when you buy it on a mobile device but then you go and pick it up from a store. All of these are a merging of the bricks and mortar world and the digital world. And you know, that brings a challenge. So we know that consumers want to purchase things with their favorite electronic devices. They routinely, you know, flip between an in-store experience and an online experience, and they don't want it to be fragmented, because fragmentation brings friction, and if there's friction, they're less likely to complete a sale. So that's the challenge for MasterCard. So what I'm going to explain now is two or three things that we're doing to try and facilitate services in this world, to allow banks to get their cards in the right places, and to allow retailers to provide the best shopping experience for their consumers, whether in store or whether online. So, first of all, and these And these couple of slides are a little bit techy, but I don't think they're too scary. So, and there's a couple of the words have slipped there, but I don't think it should matter. Underneath Apple Pay, the thing that gets the card onto the phone, if it's a MasterCard, is a platform called the MasterCard Digital Enablement Service. And this is a new piece of network connectivity which will support the digital world of future payments. What it does is it allows banks, on the left-hand side of the diagram, easy, simple, cost-efficient connectivity to a variety of different digital environments on the right-hand side. This brings great advantages for all players. For a bank, I connect once, I connect to my first digital wallet. I then want to connect to my second digital wallet, it's a small amount of work. Similarly, on the other side, if you're a digital player, if banks have already connected for one of the digital services, you can get easy access to those banks to access your digital wallet. So it solves the many-to-many problem and helps bring scale. And MasterCard is a network company, and this is exactly the reason that our organization exists. So it's worth just stepping through briefly the use cases on the right, just to summarize where we are. So Apple we've covered, live in the US, live in the UK, connected to MDES. Samsung Pay. Samsung Pay has launched in the US in, I think, September. It's connected to MDES. Samsung have publicly announced that they will work with MasterCard in Europe to bring Samsung Pay to market via MDES infrastructure. So we're actively working with them to make that happen now. Android Pay, live in the US, also connected and powered by MDES if it involves a MasterCard. They haven't announced any international expansion plans other than they will expand internationally at some point. 3 other quick ones. MasterPass. I'll touch on this later, but this is our online digital wallet. But that's connected, we announced that's connected to this platform to greatly ease how consumers get their cards into our digital wallet. At the top there's a slightly horrible phrase called MCBP. This is bank wallets. So Spain has actually been leading the world in terms of building NFC wallets that use the Android capability called HCE, which basically means you don't need anyone's permission. You can build your own digital wallet that allows you to make tapped payments. We piloted this in Spain with Banco Sabadell nearly 2 years ago, and Spain has been a very active market. We now have a fully managed service for HCE wallets via our MDES platform, and Capital One in the US announced the launch of the first wallet using this, I think it was last week, maybe the week before. And finally, Internet of Things, buzzword of the day, catchphrase of the day. We announced last week that we are working with a number of providers, chip manufacturers such as Qualcomm, such as NXP, car manufacturers such as GM, to extend this capability to the Internet of Things. What this means is in a future where you may want to pay with a wristband that's used for fitness, with a ring, with a wearable, with something else that I can't envisage, with a car when you're in a garage, this is the infrastructure that we will use to do it. So it's a comprehensive infrastructure built with a future focus to connect banks to multiple digital environments. The way it works is we put what's called a token in the device, and I won't go into that now, but basically this is an extra layer of security that means that the payment identifier that sits on the device is not your primary account number. It's a secondary number that is specific to that location. Therefore, we can track that it's only ever used in that location and minimize any fraud risk. So I've talked there about digital connectivity to connect multiple banks with multiple digital destinations. What we're also doing is the same thing on the contractual side. So MasterCard, historically one of the reasons we exist is so that when I come to Spain and I go shopping in a store, that store's bank doesn't need to have a direct relationship with my bank in the UK in order for the payment to work. Because there are tens of thousands of banks in the world, they don't want to each cut 10,000 deals. So therefore it's worth having a network. And the network has 2 elements. It has the technical connectivity, and it also has the commercial structure. What we've announced in the US with our Digital Enablement Express program is a contractual framework that simplifies this. So, similar to the technical environment, the idea is that a bank would sign up for it once, they sign up for this program, we put in place some common standards around security, around use of data, around other considerations, and then they, through that single contract, have access to all of the digital wallets that come online. Similarly, the digital wallets, if they sign up for this program and meet the minimum standards, will have access to all of the banks that have come online. So allowing a network to build that helps all participants by reducing the cost and the hassle and the effort of putting consumers' details into digital environments. So that's one big thing that we're doing. We're building new networks, technically and commercially, to allow consumers' cards to get into these digital destinations. One of the things we're doing, in addition to that, is improving how the e-commerce transactions work once you've got their credentials into that destination. So e-com today, can be a fairly clunky experience with all of the details that you need to enter into your website. There's a lot of good work to simplify that. One of the things we're doing is we're trying to use chip-style technology to make it cleverer. So if your mobile device can generate basically a chip and pin transaction in technical terms and give that chip transaction to the terminal, why don't you apply the same standards to an e-com purchase? Why can't it send the same clever cryptographic confirmation over the internet to the e-com merchant, who can then pass it through to the bank that way? This is something else that we piloted within Europe. We piloted it with ING a couple of years ago. We call it Digital Secure Remote Payments, which may not be the catchiest name, but it does describe what it does. And it basically allows chip transactions over the internet. And this is good for everyone because it reduces fraud, it makes the whole thing more secure, and because it's based on chip data, you can make the transaction flow much simpler. So you don't need to enter your card details in the same kind of way. You can just check out with a single thumbprint or something similar. And within Apple Pay, this is live today. So if you do an in-app purchase in Apple today, with a MasterCard, it's using our digital technology to make a chip-like transaction across the internet. So the final thing that I'm going to talk to you about is MasterPass. Now, MasterPass is the product that we are bringing to market to simplify online commerce. And it's essentially two things. It's a digital wallet where a consumer can store their card details to be used at any participating merchant, and that wallet can be run by one of a number of partners. It's not something we run, it's something that we work with partners such as banks, such as retailers, to allow them to run that wallet. So the consumer stores their details in the wallet. They can then use those details to check out wherever they see the MasterPass button, which is our online digital acceptance mark. So by clicking on that, the credentials are passed safely and securely to the merchant, and they can go through a checkout experience which has many fewer steps than you see historically, is more secure, and therefore leads to lower abandonment rates. So this is another win-win situation where by implementing a smoother checkout, the consumer gets a better experience, so they're more likely to complete the purchase, the bank gets more transactions made in a more secure way, and the merchant gets the transactions completed. We will be enhancing this service to work with all of the technologies that I've talked about before. So we've already announced that it's working with MDES. We have plans to incorporate chip-like transactions in this. It's rolling out extensively at the moment. It's live in 24 countries. We're seeing 40% month-on-month growth. In Europe, we're working with organisations such as taxi firms in Turkey, Czech National Railways, Vodafone Italy, a number of organisations. The final thing I want to flag about this is a technology that enables some of those mixed experiences I talked about earlier, where you are blurring the in-store and the online experience. And we have a good example of the UK where we worked with a restaurant chain to introduce a digital checkout. And now we have a video, which if it works, will tell that story much better than me. So hopefully we can run the YouTube video now.
Wagamama is a pan-Asian concept inspired by Japanese ramen bars and Asian cuisine. Our first restaurant opened in Bloomsbury in 1992. We're in 16 countries, 147 restaurants worldwide. Our concept's based on fresh food, prepared to order, nutritious, delivered as soon as it's ready out the kitchen. So it hits the customer as fresh as possible. I'm IT director at Wagamama. My job's to look at new innovations, specifically in the digital space, that's going to help drive the customer experience. Customer services is the heart of everything we do. Everything we focus on is driven by the customer experience. We recognise there's an opportunity by simplifying and quickening the payment process. The idea became, how can we make it so the customer can pay in a very secure, safe and simple way with a brand that they recognise and trust, and leave when they're ready to, rather than when we're ready to provide them with a bill and take the payments. We wanted something that just basically they could go any venue and pay using a card. So to do that, we needed to find a company that had the brand that people trusted, recognised and was going to be safe and secure, and had the ability to be able to scale up on a global scale. So we approached MasterCard and we shared our vision, and they were engaged in what we were delivering. As a consumer, you download the app, you sign into the app, put your payment details into the app, they're safe and secure. You show the code to the waiter will assign that code to the table, so the two are linked up. You then in real time see the order. When you're ready to pay, you pick the card you want to pay with, put the tip in if you want to, and then hit pay, put your password in, process is finished, you get a receipt on your phone, and it closes the check on the till. You're ready to leave. If you want to share that bill with a colleague or a friend, you show them the code, they can basically then select the things they're willing to pay for. From Wagamama perspective, we're enhancing the customer experience, we're speeding up the payment process from a consumer and the restaurant perspective, and we're enabling the staff to focus on serving and driving revenue.
So, thank you very much. I've hopefully given you a taster of some of the things that we're doing to drive digital commerce within Europe. You know, we think we're positioning ourselves well to allow consumer and retailer choice in terms of the different services that you may want to offer to consumers. I won't keep you from your coffee anymore. If anyone has any questions, come grab me. Thank you very much.